There's a person in your life right now. Maybe it's someone at work. Maybe it's a family member. Maybe it's someone you used to trust. And every single time you're around them, you leave feeling drained, smaller, somehow worse about yourself than when you arrived. You can't quite explain it, but you feel it deep in your chest. You feel it. That feeling has a name, and the Stoics knew about it over 2,000 years ago. The ancient philosophers who built Stoicism weren't sitting in comfortable rooms theorizing about life. Marcus Aurelius was running an empire while people plotted against him daily. Epictetus was a slave who had literally no control over his own body. Seneca was surrounded by the most politically dangerous court in human history. These men weren't strangers to toxic people. They were drowning in them, and what they figured out changed everything. Here's what nobody tells you about toxic people. The real damage they do isn't what they say to you. It's what you start saying to yourself after they're done. Think about the last time someone treated you badly. The conversation ended, maybe hours passed, maybe days, and you're still replaying it. You're writing the perfect response in your head at 2 in the morning. You're rehearsing arguments. You're feeling that heat in your stomach all over again. They moved on. You didn't. That's the real weapon toxic people use, and most of us hand it to them willingly every single time. Marcus Aurelius wrote something that should be tattooed on the inside of everyone's mind. He said that you have power over your mind, not outside events. And once you realize that, you realize where the real battlefield is. It's not out there, it's in here. This is where Stoicism starts to get dangerous. Dangerous for the toxic people in your life. I mean, the first thing the Stoics teach you is something called the dichotomy of control. It sounds academic, but it is devastatingly practical. Everything in your life falls into one of 2 categories: things you control and things you don't. Your thoughts, your reactions, your choices, your values, those belong to you. Other people's behavior, their opinions, their moods, their pettiness, none of that is yours. None of it. The moment you genuinely internalize that, something shifts, because you stop fighting battles that were never yours to win. Toxic people feed on your reaction. This is not metaphor. This is psychology. The drama, the argument, the guilt you carry, the anxiety they create. That is their oxygen. When you react with anger, you give them exactly what they came for. When you collapse with hurt, you confirm whatever narrative they've been building about you. The Stoics figured out that the most powerful thing you can do, the thing that truly unsettles someone who wants to control you, is to stay completely, unnervingly calm. Not cold, not distant, but calm. There's a difference, and it matters. Cold is a wall. Calm is a foundation. Cold says, I don't care. Calm says, I'm not available for this. Epictetus said it plainly. He said, people are disturbed not by things but by their opinions about things. Someone calls you worthless. That's a noise they made. It means nothing until you decide it means something. Someone tries to humiliate you in front of others. That's a choice they made about themselves. Your interpretation of that moment is the only thing that gives it any power over you at all. Now, let me be honest with you here, because a lot of people misuse Stoicism to justify just standing there while someone destroys them. The Stoics were not passive. Marcus Aurelius commanded armies. Cato stood up to Julius Caesar. Stoicism does not teach you to absorb abuse and call it discipline. It teaches you to respond from strength instead of reacting from pain. And sometimes responding from strength means walking away. Sometimes it means setting a boundary so clear and firm that there's no room for negotiation. Sometimes it means removing someone from your life entirely, not out of bitterness, but out of wisdom. Seneca wrote that it is not that I am brave enough to face them, it is that I am wise enough not to. The Stoics believed in something they called amorati, love of fate, the acceptance of reality exactly as it is, not as you wish it would be. And here's where this becomes relevant to toxic people. A lot of us waste enormous energy hoping someone will change, waiting for the apology that isn't coming, holding on to the version of a person that existed years ago, or maybe never existed at all. Amorati says, this is who they are, not who you wanted them to be, not who they promised they'd be. This is who they are right now. And pretending otherwise is a form of self-cruelty. You don't have to be angry about who someone is. You just have to be clear about it. One of the most underrated Stoic tools is what Marcus Aurelius called the view from above. He would deliberately step back in his mind and see situations from a wider perspective. He'd zoom out, almost like pulling back a camera, until the thing that was bothering him looked small against the enormous backdrop of history and time. The person who insulted him, the colleague who undermined him, the advisor who lied. In the long sweep of history, how much did that really matter? Try that with someone toxic in your life. Really try it. Imagine 10 years from now. Imagine the version of you that has long since moved forward. Does this person's opinion of you, their behavior, their attempts to diminish you, does any of it actually define anything real about your life? Or does it only feel that way because you're standing too close to it right now? Here's what the Stoics knew that most people never learn. Toxic people are not powerful. They only appear powerful because we keep lending them our attention, our anger, our worry, our late-night mental replays of their words. All of that is our energy, and we're spending it on them like they deserve it. Epictetus, the man who was owned by another human being who had no legal rights, no freedom, nothing, looked at his masters and said, "You can have my body, you cannot have my mind." That is the ultimate Stoic move. Not fighting the person in front of you, refusing to let them live rent-free inside you. So, what does this look like in practice? It looks like letting a comment pass without chasing it, not explaining yourself to someone who has already decided what they think of you, responding to manipulation with a quiet no instead of a long justification, protecting your peace like it is the most valuable thing you own, because it is. The Stoics believed in memento mori, remember that your time is limited. Harsh, maybe, but here's what it does for you. It makes the smallness of toxic drama impossible to ignore. Every hour you spend poisoned by someone else's behavior is an hour you are never getting back. Your life is not a rehearsal. The toxic person taking up space in your head right now will not be in your final thoughts. Whether you actually lived will be. The Stoic way to deal with toxic people is not about revenge or victory. It's about refusing to be diminished. Deciding that your inner world, your calm, your character belongs to you and nobody else. They hate this not because it punishes them. They hate it because it ignores them. And for someone who needs your reaction to feel powerful, your indifference is the one thing they cannot control. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. The toxic people in your life are not obstacles to your peace. They are the training ground for it. Use them.